Hello and welcome back again to this last part, at least according to plan. I'm going to go through an example based on everything we now know about the ER diagram. So we're trying to put it together. The result will basically be the example diagram you have seen so far in the other videos, but now we get to see how we arrived at that diagram. So the setup, you may know about the website Goodreads. It's about books and the authors, and users can log in and keep reading lists and mark which book have you read and so on. And this case assumes that the site has been taken down or closed or whatever, and then some other company, which would be our customer, they wish to swoop in and replace it with their own website. Maybe slightly less ambitious, so they're going to call it OK Reads, and our task is then to design the database. So that's a usual setup. So they have provided us with some description of what we need to do, and we're just going to go over it from the beginning and mark down whenever we find something of relevance. We put that into my diagram here in Asta. So first up, I'm going to create a diagram, class diagram, as we saw in the previous video. And let's start with the initial visibility. We want the operations compartment gone, the visibility kind is gone, and the attribute type is gone. I'll just collapse that so we have a little more room to work with. So we start here. We need to keep track of books. Okay, that seems to be a noun, so we mark that as an entity. I could go over everything and put down a list of all the nouns and all the potential verbs and so on, but I like to just sort of go at the diagram right away, and then we can modify as we learn more stuff. So that depends on your own process. We need the author of each book also. So that's an author entity, and a book is clearly written by an author. So let's make a relationship between, just zoom in here a little bit. All right, so it's not entirely clear from the text, the multiplicity here, but what I know about the real world, it seems like an author can write many books, and maybe a book is written by an author. There we go. Sometimes there are multiple co-authors on a book as well. Okay, so that seems to be a different relationship. So we're going to drag another one here, and that went on top, which is a bit inconvenient. And that didn't go as well as planned either. Can I drag it up? Here we go. And it's annoying. Drag this one down. Oh, so I forgot a name on this one, and that's hidden out here. So we put a name on it. Written by. And here, co-authored, co-written by, we'll do like this. Maybe not written, but because I know, for example, if it's a graphic novel, then artists will be included, and yeah, there can be other types of co-authoring. So, okay, but multiple co-authors. So that at least indicates that there are multiple co-authors. I'll just move this one up here. And I guess an author can also co-write multiple books. So let's go with a zero to many over here. So I have a one to many relationship and a many to many relationship. Put that up. Okay, that left me there. For the authors, we need information about their name, first and last name. So I could make a composite attribute with my name, and then below first name, let's just go ahead and do this. Last name. Remember, I do the underscore to indicate that it is a sub attribute of the composite attribute name. Alternatively, I could just have first name and last name as simple attributes. So we'll do it like this to show more examples of attributes. Okay, first and last name, we need email, and we need a website if they have one. So put that on. I don't need to say something about that this is optional or there is 0 to 1 websites. That's more an implementation detail, whether we allow this attribute to have nothing of value. So that's just extra wording from the customer we don't need to care about. For the book, we need ISBN, title, and page count. So let's go ahead with that. Title, ISBN, let's move that, wrong button. Usually I can move this one up with Control up arrow. Is it important whether I capitalize the attributes? It doesn't really matter. You can see that I use underscore sometimes. Alternatively, you can do some kind of camel case or Pascal case. So that would be first name or just first name. I mean, either one is fine. I don't think there's a naming convention here. I happen to know that for the database that we use in this course, everything will be lowercase, all attribute names. So in that case, it's easy to just use an underscore, but that means I'm doing something because of an implementation detail, which may not be relevant in other databases. So that argument is not completely valid. It's just my own tradition. You can do whatever. We need a page count. Right? So you sort of have to rearrange the diagram all the time or just fix it at the end. Let's move this one up. Yeah, that's a bit annoying with this sticky thing. Okay, whatever. Unstick. Where did we get to this one? Books are published by publishers. Okay, so that indicates that's a publisher. I know that in one of my previous examples, the publisher was an attribute, but I feel like publisher is an entity in itself, especially when we start needing the name and address of the publisher. Then that clearly becomes something unique. And address. And again, let's just do a composite attribute here because we can. An address consists of a city and a postcode, and there's a street, and there's a number. And this is okay for the ER diagram. Sometimes you will see that maybe some of these, the city becomes an entity in itself, and the address then becomes an entity that is in a city, and the publisher is at an address, but that seems to be more elaborate than needs to be done for the ER model. So we need a relationship here, and we call that published by. Just drag this up a little bit. And a book is published by one, I assume. This is where you would go back when you are done with the diagram to verify with your customer, and they will then say, yeah, sometimes publishers can collaborate and you can have multiple publishers, or maybe a publisher in one country and a different in another country, or I don't know. But this is good enough for now. But that's the point of having a diagram that the customer is able to understand. They can verify the data that you have and make sure you're on the right path. So book publisher's name and address. We should include a publication date on the book as well. Okay, let's go and add that. Publication date. Do that. Everything is unaligned again. Not worth fixing all the time. Yeah. Readers can log in. Okay, so we have a noun here indicating that there's a reader kind of thing. Reader, I call it reader. Maybe it's a user in other systems, but somehow the users needs to be able to interact with the system. So in this case, we call them reader, and they can log in so that they can mark which books they have read. Okay, so there's a relationship here, has read, and a reader can probably read multiple books. And I guess that before you when you have just created your account, you have read 0 books. That seems to be okay. And maybe a book is so somehow wildly uninteresting that no one reads it, so it can be read. A book can be read by 0 readers, meaning that it hasn't been read, I guess. Okay. So they have read. We just need login information, for example, email and password. So put email and password. Email and password. That's good. They must be able to track when they started reading a book and when they finished, and they can rate and review a book. Okay. So this is basically the example that I did in one of the previous videos. We cannot put that kind of information on book or the reader, because it's a many-to-many relationship, and for each book and for each reader-book pair, we have a start, finish, rating, and review. So this is where we need to do relationship attributes, and I could delete this one and create a new association class up here, or I can just remember here to convert to association class, and we put that out. There we go. Probably good. As read, and I need to put in the start date and the finish date and the rating and the review. Alright, that seems good. And then we have some readers prefer specific genres, so we need to put genres on books. This might indicate that you need a, well, we could put it here, favorite genres, and that's a multi-valued attribute. It's not entirely clear whether a reader wants to put in their favorite genres, but at least it's clear that the genre must be on a book. I don't know, can a book have no genres? Maybe. Okay. So we'll have to verify with the customer whether they actually want to have this inserted, because maybe then you can optimize some searching or some suggestions saying that you have read a book with these romantic, science fiction, whatever, and that seems to be a favorite genre, so maybe you want to read another book of the same kind of genre combination, so we could put it here. But again, verify with customer whether you want to have it both places. A book can belong to multiple genres. Okay, so that's the multi-valued. And it would be nice to have the average rating of the book. Okay, so average rating, go away with you. Average rating. Alright, so that's an attribute, and we know that that can be calculated because we have all the ratings here by the readers. So I mark that as a derived attribute, like that, with the slash. And that seems to be the end of it. And that sounded dramatic, but we have reached the end of the description. So this is probably sort of something like that wasn't a good zoom. What the customer needed. And so this is where we go back to the customer and they verify, and they can probably hopefully understand that a book has this kind of information and multiple genres. We can easily explain them that there are no strange concepts here. We don't have to, like for a class diagram, we don't have to explain what is public and private and what is an association versus a dependency and then composition and so on. So this is a somewhat simple diagram with the intention of being understandable by people who may not have too much technical knowledge. Right? It's a model of the real world. I could put here as the primary key. Maybe that's good. It's not strictly needed because maybe I will later figure out that this is not a good primary key. So as an example, we put it there. All right, I think that's all for this video and so far for this video series. So if you got this far, thank you for watching.